Welcome to SmithWeekly Discussions, an occasional program for our members of SmithWeekly Research. Please note this program is a private discussion and everything contained herein is for entertainment and educational purposes only. With that, we hope you're in a comfortable position along with your favorite beverage to enjoy the discussion. We remind our audience to examine our show notes attached to each of our shows to better understand how our program functions. Before we get into our discussion today, we want to say thanks for questions coming from our audience of SmithWeekly, including Paul M., Nick W., Brent S., and Mike P. On the program today is a returning guest. Mr. Niko Cacos has joined us. Niko is the president and CEO of Blue Sky Uranium, an Argentina-focused uranium exploration and project developer with its Amarillo Grande project and the Ivana uranium-vanadium deposit in Rio Negro province, southern Argentina. Blue Sky is listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol BSK and also on the US OTC markets under the symbol BKUCF. Niko, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Andrew. Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be back.
Yeah, Niko, likewise. It's been a while since you've been on the program. Matter of fact, I think we're going on quite close to a year since we've had a company update from Blue Sky. And of course, uranium sector always fun and beat up in the dumpster, but certainly opportunities are abundant in the sector, as you well know. Here we go, continue to move forward on the back of fantastic fundamentals. But as you know, a lot of people have been shaken out of this, but here we are nonetheless. Well, how about we get going here with on that topic, broad
Mhm.
uranium sector. At this point, maybe just talk about maybe some new things you've seen or are of note to you that has really transpired in this sector, say over the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Your comment there that the sector is beat up, and I tend to take a more holistic and longer term viewpoint because we've been in this exploration business for some time now, and it was just about 4 years ago the spot price of uranium was hovering at around $20 a pound or less, and now it's at $52. So from that vantage point, in terms of running an exploration company, that's a very positive step. So that having an elevated uranium price like that, and with the outlook still looking positive and bullish rather for more increases as time goes on, I'm actually feeling very good about the price of uranium. Like everything in life, nothing goes up in a straight line. At least you don't want it to. There's pullbacks and there's adjustments, but the overall trend looks very, very positive. And the reason for that is, we're seeing, and at least I'm seeing coming across my computer screen almost every morning, is new nuclear facilities that are being built out around the world, various countries or older ones that are having their lives extended, and so there's a new, I think, just not just a resurgence, but an acceptance uh, with people for nuclear electricity. Electricity is generated through nuclear powers, and a lot of that is being driven, of course, with climate change concerns and the need to have carbon-free generation of electricity. It's also recognizing that in these alternative ways of generating carbon-free electricity, nuclear is really the only option that is available to provide consistent, safe, reliable baseload energy. And because the other sources of power, both solar and wind, they're intermittent at this point. And nuclear is really, I think we're going to see its growth continued. And I guess we could talk a little later, but with new small modular reactors that are also being developed right now, I think there's an opportunity here to allow the uranium to have a really much bigger presence and footprint in our day-to-day lives.
It's about energy density, right? And that's the interesting point about everything here. It's about energy density and quality of energy.
That's right.
Um, no doubt the uranium price is fine. The uranium equities are beat up, but
Yes.
the uranium price is perfectly just fine. Everything surrounding I'll be honest, getting a little bit boring talking about it, but the fundamentals are great. The carbon free part of this, as you and I both know, being in the mining side of things, that there's nothing about humanity that's carbon free. Uh, irrespective of what you're generating on power basis, everything requires some form of footprint.
Yes.
And things like wind and solar are an absolute terrible decision with respect to footprint, with respect to component replacement, waste, recycling, the footprint, everything else surrounding it. It is literally going backwards. What a sad poison pill that was taken with respect to these sources of energy. It just absolutely, I'll be honest, stupidity. Let's just cut it the way it is. So uh, anyway, it doesn't make any sense on any scalable basis. No comparison to the quality and density of commercial nuclear power.
Yeah.
You're not going to make any significant human advances on wind and solar. It's just not going to happen.
No, no.
It's inferior to hydro. It's inferior to coal gas, you name it.
Yep.
It's just inferior. So anyway, for what that's worth, but no, the sector looking great from a fundamental standpoint and all that. The equities are certainly beat up. It's, I think, a factor of a number of things specific to the market, the uranium market, but then just the broad market, the weakness in the broad market and the fear surrounding the broad market, I think, is
Yeah.
continuing to impact, of course, uranium equities. Why don't we just get into the company here, Niko, and give us an update on the capital structure of the company, the cash on hand, how far you've seen that cash get you at this point, if you had to stretch it, and then shares outstanding, and then the holdings of insiders, management, and key investors.
Well, I mean, we've got, our market cap right now is hovering at around 20 to 25 million dollar Canadian. That's, we're part of that equity sector pullback in the mining industry that you just finished talking about, and we've got just over a couple hundred million shares out. The cash on hand, we're around $1 million. We're going to be looking to raise equity in the near future here, raise some cash in the near future. That's what exploration companies do. Our company right now, we're focused in, like you said at the opening, in Argentina on Amarillo Grande project, and it's a very unique project in that it represents an entire new district in Argentina, an enormous district over 145 kilometers in length, or about 90 miles in length, with the potential to have multiple uranium discoveries. Of course, of interest is the geological comparable to some of these districts in Kazakhstan, which are some of the largest and lowest cost producing districts. This has the potential to rival some of these. And, the districts in Kazakhstan, they spent over half a century in terms of developing these and identifying them and, getting them up to production. And with us, we've got a lot more work to do. But as we make additional discoveries here, I think the potential gains, hopefully in the revaluation of our company, is going to, reflect some positive sentiment here for our shareholders.
Interesting setup there, and I want to talk a little bit more about the issues in Argentina and how you guys plan to bring this forward. It's a fairly simple project as proposed in the PEA. Why don't we talk just briefly about that, where we're at, Niko? You
Mhm.
guys have been advancing work in Argentina, and you guys, have a lot of exposure to Argentina throughout the group, Grosso Group. Talk about just the current status of the Ivana deposit, what you see as really the next steps. This is PEA stage, of course.
Yep.
Simple project, though, but I think some of the hurdles and I think some of the things investors want to hear from you guys on is this is in a new uranium jurisdiction, and that
Yeah.
there hasn't been any commercial exports. You know, Obviously you guys have good connections in Argentina. Give us kind of a bigger view of the runway for this company to bring this thing forward. If
Hmm.
there's nobody coming to buy out the company, which obviously there's more discovery potential, and of course, the market may allow for people to come in and buy this company. But if you guys had to advance this, just talk about some of the processes and realistic time frame.
Oh, for sure. It's interesting because Argentina, many investors that I speak to don't realize that the country itself it's a nuclear country. Um, in fact, Argentina's been in the nuclear business almost as long as the United States has. They have a very well developed nuclear industry there, not just power plants and reactors, but they can refine their own fuel. They have a pilot enrichment plant, in fact, in the same province where our project is situated. They do research, they export their technology worldwide. They're quite well known. In fact, even the director of the International Atomic Energy is an Argentinian, which is, I guess, in a way you could say the tip of the hat to the sophistication of Argentina. The only the only thing that Argentina doesn't have is right now is the production of uranium. So they import all their uranium needs, but they used to produce uranium in the past. Those have said mines have shut down because the government basically ran out of money at that time, and has never bothered tried to restart it. But our project right now, even at this early stage, is arguably the largest and most advanced project in Argentina, the Ivana deposit, and potential to expand that much, much more. And the neat thing about Argentina is, by being a nuclear country, all the regulatory framework required for putting into production a uranium mine and moving, radioactive materials around, those rules and regulations are already in place. In fact, the process is not much different than if you're looking to get permitted to put a copper mine into production or a gold mine. Uranium, you just follow the same, you follow the protocol and the rules that are already there. So from that point of view, um, Argentina is an excellent place in which to be looking for uranium. And secondly, the province where we're situated in, the province of Rio Negro, is a nuclear province. They own the what we in Canada we call a crown corporation, but like a state-owned corporation owned partially by the province. That this corporation does nuclear research and is quite well regarded around the world. And so we're in constant contact with both the federal regulators and with the provincial regulators. They know what we're doing, and they would love to see a project like this come to production at some point to be able to supply uranium domestically to the country of Argentina. And of course, if we had excess, we would be in a position for exporting that. Like you said, the project itself, within the Amarillo Grande project district, there we have the Ivana deposit. We did a PEA about 4 years ago, but and it the reason we did that at that early stage was to really demonstrate um, the competitiveness of a project like this, because it's situated from surface within the first 25 meters of the surface, so there's been virtually no stripping ratio or anything. The PEA, what it showed, two key metrics, in fact, that we really focused on. One was, what are the capital costs for putting something like this into production, and that came in at around $100 million plus a $28 million contingency fee. But the reason we were focused on what the capital costs are, because we've got the Ivana deposit, and then we've already identified a number of other targets within the area that we're currently drilling right now that could yield additional deposits. So conceivably, we could operate all of this as a single mine through a single processing facility. Therefore, the fixed costs would remain relatively fixed. And then, of course, the second thing that we looked at in that PEA was the cash costs of extracting a single pound of uranium out of the ground. And that came in at just over $16 a pound, or if you include the all-in sustaining cost, just over $18 a pound. And when you compare this globally, if this was a mine in production, it would rank amongst the lowest cost producers in the world. So, if heck, potentially it could be economic back in when the price of uranium was $20, let alone now when it's over 50. So it's a very exciting project, and it's very simple. The economics here looking very straightforward, very competitive. So our goal right now is to get out there and drill, and find additional uranium pounds.
Yeah, Nico, that sounds good. And from the perspective that the country is pretty well set up on the commercial nuclear side. Not a history guy on Argentina uranium production, but has there ever been a non-governmental entity actually, commercially producing uranium and exporting it, or has it always been basically government oversight, government ownership? Because we see this in other places like Turkey,
Yeah.
for example. Yeah.
No, there hasn't been a private company, but that I think is unique to Argentina's. just mining industry in general, it wasn't really until 1992, which is just over 30 years ago, that the country of Argentina changed its investment laws to permit foreign private investment in its mining industry. Prior to that, all all mining was state owned and state held. So yeah, there were uranium mines back then that were a couple of them that were in production, but they were all owned by the state. Now, since 1992, and then in fact that marks our year that the Grosser Group, our management team, that became active in Argentina. So we're celebrating our 30 years this year of continuous activity in Argentina, um, and our pioneering efforts there. Since that time, there's been a lot of private investment in Argentina. It's yielded a lot of big mines, copper mines, gold mines, and nobody actually was really there. There was a few short blips of looking for uranium, but I think Blue Sky is probably the most significant private uranium explorer in Argentina. So we've got this project right now that we can move forward. We've got the support of the government. They would love to see us, take this forward into production. We're not at that stage yet. We still have a more exploration work to do, but I feel confident that that's not going to be a hurdle for us to go forward on.
Congratulations on the long time work in Argentina. And of course, you guys have been quite successful in some of the other minerals in the country as well, Niko. And so on the project, so we're at PEA stage right now. It's a really simple, conventional at surface project. Everything seems to look pretty good from metallurgy side, heap leach, if I recall correctly. For you guys on this PEA, which is quite attractive as is, even in the current form, the project economically looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Would you guys consider moving forward with a PFS here relatively soon and get that advanced for the
Well,
potential to create an operation that could cash flow? Because obviously you guys have a lot of exploration ground and you can spend the next 10 years poking holes.
oh, sure, yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, these districts require sometimes upwards of 50 years to properly explore and to develop. And we're not going to wait till that's all done. But yeah, the PEA shows some phenomenal economics here for the project, and the metallurgy. Interestingly, the metallurgy was carried out by Chuck Edwards, who used to be the chief metallurgist for Cameco for many years, and probably one of the most preeminent authorities in that field. And it was all done at the Saskatchewan Research Council. But the two-stage process for us to get the uranium and vanadium to come out at the same time was just so simple. Technique that even I can understand because I'm not a geologist, and it just involves just some simple wet scrubbing and screening, so that you basically increasing your grades by fourfold, and then the leaching process. It's a very environmentally friendly leaching process. It's sodium bicarbonate and carbonate. It's an alkaline leaching process, and so basically has a very negligible impact on the environment, and it's also very cheap and allows us to recover both uranium and vanadium simultaneously. Um, Putting something like this into production, it's like the environment in which it's found, it's more akin to a gravel operation than a mining operation, because there's no blasting, there's no crushing required. It's very straightforward. But despite that, Andrew, I recognize that production requires a different skill set than does exploration. I think our team, our exceptional exploration team, and they're very good at finding additional resources, and they're going to continue doing that. Um, when we make the decision to go forward and go into production, it's going to be after we do a PFS, which we're already beginning to contemplate at this point, and it'll be in partnership or some kind of association with a larger producing uranium mining company, somebody who understands these producer risks and has dealt with them before, They're different than the exploration. It's almost like a different business. So I wouldn't want to jeopardize our project, taking it forward on our own. We'd be looking for, a large uranium company or mid-sized uranium producing company that come in, and then we could either sell it to them or joint venture with them, or whatever the business combination would make sense at that time and makes most sense for the company and for our shareholders. But we would, the one thing I know, I wouldn't contemplate doing this on our own.
No, Niko, and I appreciate that. That's something to be said right there, and just, highlighting changes that would be needed with respect to expertise, bringing on an operation team, etc. Obviously, the group has pretty deep relationships in the country, which is always useful.
Yep.
And there's probably talent and expertise that can be drawn upon within the country. I do appreciate that comment because, as you know, there's a number of companies in this sector who continue to fake it with respect to their ability to actually, develop and actually produce and put cake in a can and get it off to the conversion facility, which is always, the end goal here, right? Obviously, the
Right.
realization of cash flows. But, I think this project and the team have a number of things going for it, with the project being quite simple and you guys having, like I said, congratulations again, 30 years in Argentina. And you guys have obviously had success with other minerals. So, with respect to advancing Ivana on the PFS stage, which would be very useful to kind of put some tighter parameters around this project from PEA to PFS. But then also, you guys, are main focus here is to continuing to expand the resources, potentially de-risk the project in terms of water permitting, et cetera. That'll be something
Hmm.
that you guys will start to look at as PFS comes out here. But what are the immediate focus, say, over the next 12 to 18 months, Niko, in terms of what you guys plan to accomplish on the ground and stepping up the efforts, because the uranium market most likely will be conducive to higher prices,
Yep.
and therefore you guys will want to take advantage of that?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think our next steps here are, well, we have an ongoing drill program. We've got, uh, including Ivana itself, there was five drill targets, different target zones that are within a 30-kilometer radius of the Ivana deposit. And the idea is, of course, to identify additional uranium pounds, and focusing on this 30-kilometer zone, we could run like a hub and spoke type of central processing facility and keep uh, our capital expenditure costs, fixed costs, relatively fixed. Um, so obviously we have this drill program that's ongoing. The other thing that we're looking at doing, and over the next month or two here, is to quickly update the PEA that we've got in place. And I like to do that for two reasons. Number one, we've done additional drilling on the Ivana deposit, and we've published these results until last fall. And that had a twofold purpose. One was to drill in between existing drill holes with the objective of tightening up the spacing and being able to increase the confidence in this deposit, so we can conceivably move the resources there from an inferred resource into an indicated resource. And that could be a very significant, that's more significant, because I think especially the larger mining companies and institutional investors, they require indicated resources to show that level of confidence. And then the second objective we did there is we stepped out from the existing deposit footprint, and to test and see if there was room for finding additional resources out there, so that we could grow the size of the Ivana deposit. And the results that we got back, we got some very positive results that came in from that too. So I think a new resource calculation is definitely in the cards here, and we'll be working on that to both upgrade the resource from inferred to indicated, and hopefully be able to expand it. And then with the surrounding exploration that we're doing, there may be some room for that, adding additional pounds there too. But of course, the second thing is the PEA was done back in 2019. Like I said earlier, the spot price of uranium was hovering at around $19-20 a pound. It would be great to do that and have an updated now price of uranium that's gone up more than doubled, almost tripled in price, I think that would highlight and showcase our deposit in a different light, in a more contemporary light. I'd like to think it's much, much more attractive. And then once we complete that and we complete the drilling in the surrounding areas, I think we'll begin our PFS, which I project probably will be towards the end of the third quarter or fourth quarter of this year. And that's a process. It's an engineering study to process that'll take approximately 10 months to complete. And that's at the end of that process that we would be in a position to make a production decision.
Niko, what do you think the chances are with the government there? Obviously there'd be some domestic needs, but this thing's already too big to just fill domestic need unless the
Mm-hmm.
Argentinian government had they were wanting to stock material for the future. I mean, I guess they could take it all, but what do you think the chances are of the Argentine government becoming a partner in this project?
Well, I'm not so sure. It would be something that we would have to invite. Right now, there is a law actually in Argentina that stipulates that all nuclear reactors in Argentina, there should be given priority to domestically produced uranium to feed them. So right now, Argentina utilizes approximately 500,000 pounds a year. And then with new reactors coming on, we could see that projection coming closer to 1 million pounds of uranium per year. Of course, even the old PEA here shows that Ivana has the potential to produce much more than that. So besides satisfying the domestic need for Argentina first and foremost, we would definitely be in a situation where we could export. And there is, I could see also the government perhaps trying to stockpile some of it, but I can't see them stockpiling everything that we produce.
That's always a good angle as well to
Hmm.
understand their potential involvement here and help with the some of the risk and then also some of the financial responsibility of the project as well, whether it's certain structuring like offtake, et cetera.
Right,
So very interesting to see that, and excited to see the PFS stuff move forward as well. I think that that's important to demonstrate to the market that this is moving down a pathway that'll lead at some point either to acquisition or a construction decision to build out the project. Again, it's a very
right.
straightforward, simple project to be honest, and that's what is very attractive about it as well. Other projects, do you guys have any immediate interest to work on some of your guys' other properties there in southern Argentina, or is this the main focus to just continue to drill out in advance of Ivana?
Well, we have in the southern province to the south of Rio Negro, the province of Chubut, there's probably about 150 or 160,000 hectares of properties that we own there. Um, it's that's if we tried to work on both at the same time for a junior company, it'd probably be more than what we can chew. Amarillo Grande, with over 300,000 hectares of property and 100, almost 150 kilometer trend is more than enough for us to work on. I think we want to really stay focused on that. And if as we move forward and we do a PFS, and let's say the Ivana, we're successful in pushing that and going towards production, we would be in a situation where we could follow up on some of the other interesting targets that we've been able to identify and see that we can make additional discoveries for additional uranium. I think that's probably the best way to add value for Blue Sky, is just at this discovery stage right now, not so much at the production stage.
I would agree with that. I mean, it's the market conditions are about right to do that. Sizable discovery here would be useful for the equity price. And then, back at the office working on the PFS stage stuff, I think also makes sense if you can advance both of those together. I think that's
Yep.
probably the right way to do it at this point where we are in the market.
And if I can interrupt, and exploration is actually quite cheap because these holes don't go very deep. We're exploring within the first 30 meters or so of surface. So when you announce 1,000 meters, that buys you a lot of holes. You don't need to go kilometers underground, and that makes it very, very cost efficient. And the cost of discovery it actually becomes quite low.
Are you guys using a drilling contractor out there, Niko, or you guys have your own rig, or what's the status on that?
No, we use a drilling contractor. A drilling contractor we worked with with years. Because they have a special type of drill rig because the uranium occurs in as carnotite, which is a uranium-vanadium mineral. What it looks like is like a yellow dust covering all over these rocks and pebbles and grains. So when we're drilling, these drill rigs are specially adapted to be able to recover all that dust so that we can be assured that we're getting the right sample so that when we assay it, it doesn't underrepresent the amount of uranium that's found there.
Niko, how about community efforts here at this point? I know you guys are obviously a small company, but nonetheless, you guys probably do engage in some community efforts at the local level. Anything on that front you'd like to cover off?
Through our Grosser Group management team, we've always valued from the very first day when we went to Argentina 30 years ago that having this community and social license was the most important thing to be able to ensure that our project moves forward and proceeds and develops properly. We are always engaged with the community, even though the project is situated here in Rio Negro in a very, very sparsely populated area. We make sure we have a dedicated full-time community relations team that keeps local farmers and townspeople aware of what we're doing at all times and what our plans are and what our intentions are because we always view it, Joe Grosso, the president of Grosser Group, always says, look, he goes, no matter what we say, no matter how long we've been in Argentina, the local people, it's this is their land, and we're visiting there, and we got to always be on our best behavior, show the respect, be transparent, and gain their trust and consent to be able to move the project forward successfully. Because without that, this could quickly come to an end very, very quickly.
Well, Niko, I appreciate that. Just looking at schedule for maybe just give the audience a quick shot of schedule. Looks like we've got maybe PFS starting late this year, and then also we've got exploration work ongoing at Ivana. Is that pretty much on the books for the rest of the year?
Yes, we got exploration work going in Ivana and in the vicinity around Ivana, probably for the balance of this year. We'll have. I'm hoping to have a new resource or possibly even a new PEA in the coming month or two. And because that's a quick desktop study, a lot of the work's already been done. It's just a matter of ensuring that uh, the resource calculation gets done and any updated metallurgical work that may need to be incorporated into that because always have ongoing metallurgical work happening. So, and then in the fall to early winter, we're likely going to begin our PFS study. So that'll take us into the following year, and that's showtime. That's production decision time, and it's a very exciting future over the next 12 months, I think here. And this is where we're gonna, potentially we're gonna find more uranium pounds that we can add to this, and whatever we get, we're gonna move it forward and see if we can get some cash flow, hopefully happening at some point.
Well, for potential investors who are listening in, Blue Sky Uranium has a market capitalization of about 20 million Canadian dollars. Why should the company be considered within the institutional fund, office, and retail investor portfolio, Niko?
Well, something like this, you look at I just look over in Kazakhstan, where these similar types of districts exist and the deposits. And the deposits there are, absolutely huge. You look at the Inkai mines, over 240 million pounds of uranium at 0.03%. And, that's, by the way, the kind of grade that we're getting here too. This entire district has potential to be a lot more than the just under 23 million pounds of uranium we currently have found now. It's got potential to be tenfold that as we continue moving forward. So as we add additional pounds, I think the market is going to recognize that, and that is really, and at the exploration stage that we're at right now, this puts our company in a real potential inflection point in terms of market revaluation.
Absolutely. I think some of these company specific milestones will be important amongst the improvement in the equity pricing, which is certainly expected to happen. We'll see what the broad market has to say about that, Niko. But very
Yep.
good information here. I really appreciate the update. And for interested parties reaching out to the company, what's the best way?
Well, best way is to contact us, through our website. All our contact information is there. You can reach out to me, or you can reach out to our investor relations, Sean Perger. We have a toll free number at 1-800-901-0058. We're always happy to engage and talk to potential investors and our shareholders. It's an easy uranium project. It's unlike any of the others that I see amongst our peers. So it makes us really unique. So hopefully, your audience here considers Blue Sky as a potential investment.
Well, thanks for coming back on. Appreciate the update, and best of luck with progress at Blue Sky.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you, Andrew.